introduce yourself, followed by about 6 questions that have been prepared in advance, and then several from the audience. So if you do want to submit one for Justin, you can raise your hand, get the 3x5 card turned in. We'll try and get it in. Your time limit on answers is 2 minutes. And after questions and answers, you have 2 minutes to offer closing remarks. But you start with 3 minutes on introducing yourself, telling who you are, why you're running.
Thanks, George. Thanks, everyone, for putting this together. This is a great forum, great event. So my name is Justin Douglas. I'm currently a county commissioner in Dauphin County. And I just want to talk a little bit about that race. I ran for office in 2023. I ran as an underdog. Couldn't be more of an underdog. That seat was held by Republicans for a century, and ran as an underdog candidate. Did not raise a lot of money. Raised $10,000 compared to $250,000 raised by each of the people I ran against. We mobilized volunteers. We got the vote out. We made a case. We showed up everywhere. We were ignored. We were discounted. I like that. That actually works to my advantage as far as I'm concerned. It's very familiar to be out fundraised for me. It's very familiar to be ignored. And we pulled off a victory. And I just want to say with that victory, some of the things that I've been able to accomplish as a county commissioner. We raised minimum wage for our county employees to $16 an hour. We expanded ballot drop boxes from 2. If you know Dauphin County is a pretty big county, and you only have 2 ballot drop boxes across the county. I'll tell you, I wanted like 14, but I settled for 7. But we have 7 now across the county for people to drop their ballots off. We also instituted ballot curing, which is incredibly important, so that if you make a minor mistake on your mail-in ballot, you get a chance to fix it. Novel idea, right? Protecting voters. We've also brought in a new prison healthcare provider, which is deeply important to me. If you know anything about the history of Dauphin County Prison and the issues that we've had there, that was a vital concern and something that we just needed better care. And so I'm incredibly proud of the accomplishments that I've been able to make as a county commissioner, and also the candidate that I am and how I ran when I ran. I wasn't part of the establishment, didn't like being part of it, didn't want to be part of the establishment, so that when I got in, I could actually fight corruption and fight for the people of Dauphin County. Now, I'm running for Congress because last year I witnessed the realities of immigration enforcement on my neighbors in Dauphin County, the people that I call constituents. I saw the terror. I saw the reality because some of them couldn't visit their loved ones at Moshannon, and so when they were prepped for deportation in Pike County, we took a trip to Pike County, and I sat in the lobby and saw family after family come out after seeing their loved one for the last time before they were deported. And I was asked to run for this because I have a very different position on immigration and a lot of other things. I'm looking forward to sharing more through the questions, but I can just tell you it would be an honor to represent you in Congress in PA's 10.
So the first question is on immigration. What aspects of current administration actions on immigration do you support or oppose, and where would you redirect funding?
Wow. Okay, the first place we could redirect funding is to a judicial system that ultimately doesn't allow for people to be backlogged for 6 to 7 years to get through immigration courts. If we really want to solve this problem, that's one thing that we could direct money to, not to militarized police forces. I don't even know that I want to call them police, militia forces going out on our streets. Look, we saw this in Minnesota, but we saw it in Chicago before, and we saw it in LA before that, and we saw it in executive orders even before it was instituted. We saw 2 American citizens gunned down in the streets. And before the day even ended, before the sun went down, this president and this administration assassinated their characters without even knowing anything about them. This is not law enforcement. The first thing we give law enforcement is not a badge, a gun, a car, or handcuffs. We give them trust. You cannot trust ICE. As an American citizen, you can't trust ICE. Not just if you're in the immigration system. However afraid you might be of what ICE might do to you if you were in their presence, imagine the fear of our immigrant neighbors. Many of us come just a generation back, or 2 generations back, or 3 generations back, from immigrants who came here with nothing in their pocket, with the hopes of a better life. And this is how we're treating them. Just 2 Saturdays ago, we had 2 legal green card holding refugees picked up in Dauphin County, facing deportation now. This is not gone, it's happening. It's happening here in Cumberland County. I've talked with your commissioner, Commissioner Fauci, about it. We talk regularly because it's happening. It's unacceptable. We need to protect our immigrant neighbors. We need to hold ICE accountable. They need to be unmasked, and ultimately they need to not be a paramilitarized force out on our streets.
Next question has kind of 3 parts to it, and we can go through this second one. It's on foreign policy. First part is, do you believe there's been sufficient evidence to support the attacks on boats in the Caribbean and Pacific that have killed more than 100 people? Secondly, do you support the blockade of Cuba that the
We do it one at a time. You can start the clock. We'll do one
Sure.
at a time.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Better.
Okay.
Just for the sake of no. Okay, I'll go more. If we actually want to fight drugs, we can take all those resources that we're spending to blow up random boats that are probably more likely to be human trafficking boats, where we're killing innocent people who are being trafficked, than blowing up random boats that have no chance of getting to America's shore, and actually shoring up the fentanyl reality of what's happening, which, by the way, is largely not trafficked here by migrants. It's trafficked by American citizens. Yep. And so, if we really want to solve the problem, there's a clear pathway to solve it.
Second part, do you support the blockade of Cuba that the administration has implemented?
Listen, I think Obama did a great job of this. He normalized relations with Cuba. I would be for normalizing relationships with Cuba under exactly what Obama did.
Third part, what should Congress do to weigh in on this type of unilateral presidential action?
Pass the War Powers Resolution. Look, it's so clear that we are currently in an illegal war. It's an illegal war because Congress wasn't consulted. The Constitution says Congress is to be consulted. Congress wasn't consulted, but guess who was in the Situation Room prior to it? Bibi Netanyahu. So who is representing you? Is it your congressman? Or is it a foreign leader that's representing you and getting us into more foreign conflicts where money goes, billions and billions of dollars, while you continue to fight to get ahead? So I would say, simply and plainly, we have to be a check on the president, on the executive branch. It is the role of Congress not to write strongly worded letters, but to pass legislation that actually gets stuff done.
Next question deals with climate change and energy. The current administration has undermined every effort the U.S. has made to support renewable energy and address climate change. What would you undertake to address this critical issue?
Look, we've seen this particular president roll back all the hard work that Biden did. Let me just say this about President Biden. President Biden did something that we are going to benefit from for generations with his infrastructure. The infrastructure investment. The problem with infrastructure investment, when you're hurting, though, is that it takes so long to roll out. It takes so long to see the benefit from it. But the increase in solar and wind that has been completely rolled back, it's unbelievable, because it would actually make us more energy independent. It would create green new jobs. It would create good paying jobs, union jobs. And ultimately, it would protect our environment, which is so critical. I don't know if you're going to ask me a data center question, but a moratorium on data centers, obviously, when we can protect the climate. I have 3 kids. I have a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, 11-year-old. This is the air they're going to breathe. I think just this week it came out that Dauphin County central Pennsylvania in general, continues to be a place where the air you breathe is not good quality air. If we continue to allow corporations to pollute our air, pollute our water, rob our earth, we're going to continue to get the results of it. More cancer, more challenges for you to endure while the rich get ahead. And ultimately, we need to be sending people to Congress that are concerned about the environmental impacts of the decisions that they make. Because we only have one Earth. We are the stewards of this earth. Whether that comes to you from a theological perspective, whether that comes to you just because you're a citizen and you believe the earth matters, we all have a pact to do earth care, to care about the place in which we live, and to ensure that the future is handed off better to the next generation than what we have. And if we don't take that as a responsibility, we're going to continue to see this go to a place that I don't think any of us want to see.
The next question is a bit of a long prelude to it. It's on corruption, though. The Foreign Emoluments Clause of the Constitution bars the President and other federal officials from accepting, quote, any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state, end quote, without the consent of Congress. Will you initiate and support efforts to review the President and his staff's violations of this clause, and what actions do you think are appropriate?
I'm the only one in this race, on any of the people in this race, who has a history of fighting corruption. So let's start there. I've done that in Dauphin County. You can just Google it. What I will say about this president is this president now, I think, was just reported it's over $4 billion that him and his family have made and profited off of his seat. It's unacceptable. It's a reason he should be impeached. And Perry co-signs on all of it. But I don't have to tell you how bad Scott Perry is. You know how bad Scott Perry is. What I will say, though, is taking a jet from a foreign government, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like, that is just so insane. Meme coin, like, this is a way that people have paid for pardons. Like, we can literally see them pay for a pardon, or pay into this, and then they get pardoned. Oh, crazy how that worked. This is a pay-to-play scheme right in front of all of us. And it's like Congress doesn't care. It's like Congress just doesn't care that it's happening. We have to send principled leaders who are bold and going to communicate the realities. The realities are you're getting screwed and they're getting ahead. And the longer we allow for it, the longer we send moderate people to Washington that are, we can't do that. We have to send bold people who are going to call it out, who are going to say corruption is corruption and it's got to go, because if not, we're all going to be poor and they're all going to be rich.
Next one should be a question that I think everybody is with you on. This. Meeting Scott Perry. You are a known quantity in Dauphin County, but less known in Cumberland, York counties. What specific strategies will you use to win in York and Cumberland counties, and also the fact that the district is more Republican in numbers? How do you plan on addressing that?
It's a good question. So, listen, I don't have to tell you, like I said earlier, how bad Scott Perry is. I'm not running against Scott Perry right now, right? I'm here to unite the Democratic Party around progressive values that too often get thrown to the wayside. We have to reclaim our FDR spirit, which is bold reform, not Band-Aid fixes. And so, to your question, I just had a conversation with an individual who's a Republican who made a donation to my campaign. We had a conversation, and he said, I don't think I agree on any of your policies. But when you talk, I believe you. When you talk bold, you talk with a commitment. I believe you're going to fight for us. And that means something to me. And so, look, I know I was raised in a Republican household. My parents are MAGA. I still talk to them. We still eat Thanksgiving dinner together. We try not to talk about politics, but when we do, I promise I win. That's been the best debate prep of any. But I will say this. We have to find a way to bring this country together. One of the things that I think is critical is finding the common ground to work across the aisle. Right now, we need to ban congressional stock trading. The best bill that exists to ban congressional stock trading, because there's like 5 of them. Some of them were like, here, we'll give you a $100 penalty because you made $1 million off of stock. The best bill is it's a Republican-led bill. I would co-sign that bill day one. Because I don't care if it's a Republican carrying a good idea to you forward, or if it's an independent, or if it's a Democrat. If it's a good idea and it's going to be better, that's what matters. And I think that speaks volumes to how all French cross out.
Circling back to the need to bring folks together, should your opponent win the primary, will you commit to urge your base to get behind the winner?
Here's what I'll say. First of all, I'm not focusing past May 19th, but you're asking me a question past May 19th. And I'll give it an honest answer. I have to earn your vote. Okay? Anyone who runs for office has to earn your vote. Okay? You have to earn my endorsement. It's not just going to come because I ran in a race with you. And I want to speak clearly to this. I was a pastor, and I went out and I did speeches. This was before I was even considering ever running for politics. I gave speeches for Shapiro and for Fetterman at an event. I look back and I see what Fetterman is now. Right? Many of us in this room see what Fetterman is now. If I have reservations, those are going to be conversations that happen after. I'm not dedicating my support because I've supported Democrats that I don't believe in, and I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Next question is taxing billionaires and big corporations. What actions would you support to make the federal tax system more fair and just so that billionaires and large corporations pay their fair share while providing tax relief for lower and middle income families?
Oh, wow. Listen, the reality that this is the scheme. Let's talk about it. It's not a bug. It's a feature. Okay? So we can talk all day about tax policy. There's 100 ways we could solve this problem. But the truth is we got to solve Citizens United. Because that's what's doing it. If I'm a very wealthy corporation, guess what I have? A much larger voice than you in the system. And so what do? I buy a politician. Because if I buy a politician, he's going to write, or she's going to write legislation that ultimately is going to get me ahead. Going to give me options to avoid taxes. You're not getting those options to avoid taxes. They are. And they're constantly finding every single loophole they can constantly, it's insane to see the ways they can get out of paying taxes. Even Elon Musk basically saying, I don't have any money. I didn't make any money this year. But then when he wants to go apply for a loan, he uses the same stocks that he claims aren't money to borrow against. That's the scam. That's the scheme. That's the grift. And they're grifting you. And so until we close those type of loopholes and we stop allowing Citizens United to rob our voice while giving the voice to corporations, we're going to continue to see Band-Aid fixes on tax policy because we can't frustrate a billionaire donor too much, or they might not donate it to us. And when you're in Congress, every 2 years you have to run. So if you frustrate a donor, guess what? You're running here soon. And that's how people think. We have to change that thinking. We have to change that mindset that they're allowed to get ahead while we stand still or even go backwards. And so I would support bold tax reform, the kind of tax reform that says if you're a millionaire or billionaire, you probably became that because America was a system that helped you get there. You need to pay back into the system. You don't get to benefit from the system and then get to where you are and say, I'm not paying back to you.
Next question's on your mentors. Who are the people who most inspire and influence you? And who will you be looking to mentor you during your term if elected?
Okay, well, let's just say when it comes to politics, the first person who inspired me was Barack Obama. Very first. He spoke differently to my generation, I think, than anybody I'd ever seen in politics speak to me. My son has a shirt. He's 14 years old. I love when he wears it to school. It's my favorite thing. It says Thug Life. It says Thug up here, and it says Life in big words. And then it has a picture of a man in the 60s being arrested and carried away by 2 police officers, and that man's Bernie Sanders. And I think it's incredibly inspiring to see where that man stands and has stood for so long. You see so many politicians become institutionalized in a way that is negative, and then you see politicians who stand on principle consistently through the decades. I find him to be such an inspiration. anyone who can hold the principles for that long and fight for the working class is somebody that it's amazing to think about what he's endured. I want to say this though, I would not be here today if it wasn't for a man none of you know. His name's Jason Chenoweth. He was my high school youth pastor. He was my mentor after high school. Anytime I found myself at a crossroads, and many of you might not know this, I was a pastor for 20 years before I got into elected office. Anytime I needed advice, I would call him. He, a few years ago, passed away from cancer. There are so many times that I'm at a crossroads and I can recall and remember our conversations. I can think to myself, what would Jason be advising me to do right now, here in this moment? And so that would be something I would carry. And my wife, I'll be honest, during the time where we deliberated about this, running for office, she's the one who was like, you got to do this. I really was on the fence. And she told me, you got to do this. I would go to those people. And George, I would go to you as well. I would, seriously. You've been a mentor in a lot of ways too. George and I even sat down during the time I was deliberating. People who have ran for this office and know what it takes, that means a lot.
Next question is from the audience, and it's a great question. How do we keep Social Security funded?
Well, we raise the caps. So, let's talk about this from just a functional standpoint. Someone had the bright idea at one point with Social Security to say we're going to cap it at this arbitrary number. And then what that means is anyone who makes above that, okay, so in the hundreds of thousands of dollars is where it's capped, anyone who makes above that pays whatever the person that makes that cap pays. They pay the same thing. So if you're a millionaire, you pay the same as someone who makes in the hundred thousands. If you're a billionaire, you pay the same as someone who makes in the hundred thousands. And what we've seen is a great shift in economic disparity, in wealth. Well, what does that mean for Social Security? It means it's going insolvent by 2033. So if we don't do something bold here in lifting these caps, we are going to be in big trouble. Our seniors who have had the promise of this program that they've invested in year over year over year are going to be in a really challenging situation if that stops. So here's what's going to happen though. We're just going to bail it out like we bail everything else out. We're not going to make the millionaires and billionaires pay their fair share. We're going to get to the finish line. We're going to put another Band-Aid fix on it for a decade. And guess who's going to pay for it? You are. You're going to pay for it. Unacceptable. We have to raise the caps and we have to do it now.
The American dream seems more and more a faraway notion for many families. Everything is more expensive: gas, groceries, housing, health care, higher education. What do you say to voters who are being crushed under this economy, and what policies will you support to help these people?
So the first thing I would do is raise the minimum wage. And let's talk about why. So we are in an affordability crisis, but I actually think the bigger crisis that no one's talking about is the fact that we're in a wages crisis. If you would have pegged minimum wage, to inflation from 68 to now, minimum wage would be over $20 an hour. If you would have pegged it to productivity, it'd be over $25 an hour, which would mean it would cascade up. All of the brackets would go up. And as unaffordable as things are right now, we might be in a very different situation if that were the reality. But we can't, because we're told constantly, well, we can't raise minimum wage. We can't pass things like the PRO Act that actually support workers, because that would go against our corporate overlords. So look, I'm going back to bold, you talked about the American dream. Let's talk about FDR. FDR is coming out of the Great Depression. What are we going to do to rebuild this country? What are we going to do to make sure the American dream is sound? Creates the boldest legislation we've probably ever seen a president do. Gets it through, gets it passed, gets it put into place. And what does it do for the decades after? It carves out the best middle class we've ever seen. Right now, the middle class is threatened like never before. And if we don't have the same kind of bold, innovative spirit with legislation, we're going to be in another Great Depression.
Okay, I think this will probably be our last question, unless you're really quick. I'm going to do the speed round. That's up to you. This one is very general, again, from the audience. What is your stance on raising or lowering taxes?
Raising or lowering taxes? Well, look, I'll just speak to me as a Dauphin County Commissioner. I've had to raise taxes 2 years in a row. Republicans went 20 years without raising taxes, and they also didn't balance a budget. And so that meant they robbed the county savings to run every year on not raising taxes. So they could make postcards that said, "We don't raise your taxes." When if they would have had moderate 1% increases over those years, we wouldn't be in the budgetary fiscal crisis that we're in right now. So part of being a good leader is knowing sometimes you're going to get handed two really bad decisions. We've had to make cuts that have been really hard, and we've also had to increase taxes in Dauphin County. That's the challenge of being a leader. Sometimes either option you look at, they're bad options. When it comes to raising taxes, I'm not trying to raise your taxes. I'm trying to raise billionaires and millionaires' taxes because they're not paying their fair share. I think we need to increase things like the child tax credit. I think we need to increase options for you and ensure that the wealthy are paying their fair share. Okay. I'm just going to close this way. It is odd, this forum. I just want to be very clear. I want to acknowledge what I think everybody in the room knows. You can learn more about me at justindouglas.us, okay? I think I've shared enough about me. I just want to share a little bit about the process here. We've never shown up to a forum, to a town hall, or to an event with rules. The person I'm running against showed up with rules, that they would not be on the stage with me, and that they only had 30 minutes. And that's why you saw all these other great candidates up here together, but you didn't see us up here together. And the reason I'm telling you that is because guess what you don't get to do on the floor of Congress? Make up your rules. You got to show up. You got to debate. And as much as you want to say, and as much as people might want to say this is Democrats taking shots at each other, all over policy, all over showing up, because how you run is how you lead. And right now, we don't have the time as a Democratic Party to be soft. Yep. Like, we have got to be bold right now. And not being able to show up to get prepared for the general because you're looking past the primary, that I'm just not okay with that as a voter. I don't think you should be either. I think I'm the only one in this race with experience. I have 2.5 years of elected experience. I'm the one in this race who's shown up and delivered on that experience. And I will deliver it in Congress. I would appreciate your vote on May 19th or early on the own ballot.
So folks, before you head out the door, I just want to